It's Jeff Messer, and we're here at Heroes Con in the wee small hours of the morning before things get kicked off, catching some folks at their tables. And I was wandering through, and I happened to see Bob Hall just sitting here by his lonesome in the quiet of the morning.
Yes, just trying to have some peace, and here he came.
And here I came, disrupting the peace. But you're sitting here working on a Captain America sketch, a commission that somebody has asked for. But I had to seek you out because in the real world, not in the comic book world, but in the real world, I have a good friend who is a good friend of yours that goes way, way back. My friend Bill Gregg, who works in theater in the Asheville area. And he's sung your praises to me for years. He knew I was a comic book geek. He's been to my house, he's seen artwork, and he goes, I know Bob Hall. And I'm like, I don't believe you, Bill, but here you are, and you can vouch for him.
Bill Gregg and his first wife, Hayden, were both in a play that I directed in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Okay.
And it was called Vanities. And I came out me and my wife came out on opening night. We saw the show, and then we were supposed to leave and catch a plane. And we walked out, and it was snowing like crazy. So I called the airport and said, any planes flying? They said, nope. I said, when will they fly? They said, when it melts.
When it melts.
They had no snow blowing equipment whatsoever. And so Bill, it snowed forever. Bill put us up, and we stayed in Bill's house and played Monopoly for the better part of a week.
So it was a blizzard, it sounds like.
It was a freak blizzard, yeah.
Wow. And so you went from the highly lucrative world of theater to the highly lucrative world of being a comic book artist.
I managed to get into two of the damnedest professions going as far as getting work is concerned.
Right.
It used to be that if you got in with Marvel, chances are you were good with Marvel.
Right.
That ceased to be true in the late 80s, early 90s. And I thought, I've got one stable business that'll allow me to go occasionally do theater.
Right.
And now I juggle them both.
So what are you doing in theater now?
Now I'll be directing Macbeth in August. When comic books went to hell in about the year 2000, I found myself in my hometown on family business. I just found out I was adopted at the age of, I was not adopted at the age of 53. I found out at the age of 53 that I was adopted.
That would be something, though.
And I wanted to go back and try to find out something about it, and found myself back in my hometown, Lincoln, Nebraska, without work. And suddenly had the opportunity to start a Shakespeare festival.
Nice.
Which I did, and did it for 15 years. And that's long enough to do a Shakespeare festival.
That'll wear you out.
And
sure.
Well, you find that you've done 12th night for the 6th time in your life,
yeah.
And you'd better turn it over to somebody else. And now I'm doing a lot of independent, a lot of educational comics, and I did one on the measles virus 2 years ago. Turned out to be very pertinent.
Right.
And
it's making a comeback, as they might say.
Yes, I hope the comic book does too.
Let's hope the comic book. People will want to read more about it. So there you go. It's perfect timing.
And I did somebody called me from the University of Nebraska and said, "You want to do an educational comic?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Why not?" And I said, "I remember educational comics. A bunch of guys in long white coats standing around with pointers and blackboards." And they said, "No, we want you to write it, make it a fantasy of some kind." And so it became about the Carnival of Contagion, about a barker who comes into the dreams, sort of a Freddy Krueger ripoff. He comes into their dreams of susceptible kids and takes them to the Carnival of Contagion, where they learn all about the disease and get the measles.
Yeah. And then hopefully the cure is somewhere right around the corner.
There is no cure.
There is no cure. Oh,
there is no cure for the measles.
Spoiler alert.
That's the problem with the measles.
That's the problem with the measles. Well, we don't wish...
Stuff you don't usually find out in interviews and comic book conventions.
That's right.
Here you are. You got to come to my table. You'll find out all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. Learning about theater, Macbeth, measles, the whole game. And let me say, as a theater guy myself, the minute you said Macbeth, I clinched up.
I think
because
you can
that's
say it in a
in a
convention
convention,
center.
right?
I think so.
In the theater, you're not allowed to say it because there's a superstition.
Because this isn't the real world, as you said. This is the world of comics. So
Exactly.
anything goes.
Anything goes and everything goes. Would you do Shakespeare adaptations in comic book form? That seems like that would be a lot of fun.
It has been done so much. I wanted to, and I decided there wasn't a market for it.
But you would be like the best.
I would be the best.
You would absolutely be the best.
No question.
No, none.
And if anybody out there wants to put money into that, they can, and I will do it.
A line of educational Shakespeare comics by Bob Hall.
I almost did King Lear for Valiant. You know, back in the 90s, they acquired the rights to Classics Illustrated just before they went bankrupt.
Perfect timing.
And I was all set to do King Lear, and didn't happen.
A valiant effort that failed.
A valiant effort that achieved no acclaim. That's a kind of a play on words if you happen to know that particular industry.
For sure. Now let's all keep our fingers crossed now that the Marvel movie world has run through the Avengers. Mm-hmm. What's the chances? Because you're quite well known for having done the West Coast Avengers back in the day as the artist. How about that being the next Avengers movie? Would you like that?
I don't care. If they invite me to the premiere, I got to go to the Infinity Wars. Marvel cycles through all the people that did work on the Avengers that touched any of those characters, I think, and gives you a few bucks, a nice little check. Not much money by movie standards,
Sure.
but by artist standards, okay.
Right.
And invite you to the premiere, and you can use it to go to the premiere or to buy a new refrigerator. And I asked my wife, she said, go to the premiere. You've never been to a premiere.
You didn't need a fridge, right?
Right.
Yeah, good.
Actually, we do. It's leaking if anybody has a spare fridge.
So if you have a spare fridge,
Yeah.
Bob Hall is looking for a fridge because he went to the premiere, as you should have.
But that's what I will get out of it if they do it.
Sure.
The big question would be whether they use the same characters. And Hawkeye
Right.
is such a different character
Sure.
in the films. Jeremy Renner is a marvelous actor, but it's a different character than Hawkeye was in the comics back in the 80s.
Yeah. Hashtag not my Hawkeye.
Well, just can they do
Right.
the same? You know, does Jeremy Renner fit in a laid-back LA, or is he too serious for it?
He's a little uptight as a character,
Yeah,
so that might not work.
It's funny. I would have thought for the Hawkeye of the '80s, Chris Pratt would have been perfect casting. So that's what he was like. If you think about Chris Pratt, that's what he was like in the '80s.
That was Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great hanging out with you, and it's been great meeting you. I'm going to give our mutual friend Bill a hard time if he doesn't show up today and
He better
sees you.
show up. Yeah.
He better show up. We'll make sure. But I had to seek you out. I had to come say hi to you, and it's been a pleasure hanging out and talking to you.
Total pleasure.
It's the great Bob Hall right here at Heroes Con. This is Jeff Messer with an Issues With breakdown. Thanks, Bob. Have a good show.
You too.
Thanks.